Coming up, I poke a hot box, slice of Dubai desert in the dojo, well, my cornea, and the X5 is going to ride factory fresh. Welcome back to part 3 of Project X5. We're in the final stages of the mechanical overhaul of this big giant. In the previous 2 episodes we thoroughly serviced its V8 beating hard, and now it's time to focus on other issues that it has. And it has a lot of them, so let's dig in and get it ready for German tooth inspection. Someone farted in here. Oh wait. M5 39 restorations in 4K. Wait! I'm going way too high. I need to remove the wheels first. First, I'm going to remove all of the wheels. The rear tires are completely shot and I need to drop them off to be replaced. This is going to be the winter set. And we also need to do some suspension work as well as the replacement of the brakes. Thus! Fun fact, the previous owner didn't believe in wheel bolts. We're missing one here and one in the back. The front tires are good. They are from 2018 and they're pretty much brand new. No oil leaks. I like it. We need to replace the flex disc on the prop shaft, which is in really bad condition. It's difficult to show it, but you can see just enough to tell that it's in terrible condition and we need to replace this immediately. The sucky bit about this job is that this massive exhaust needs to come out, then we need to remove the heat shields, and then we can get to the flex disc. Bit of rust loser. Now I need to support the exhaust. Lower it. Yep, it's coming down. Oh, there it is. Oh. Whoops. Now I'm in a pickle. Come on, Spider-Man, you can do it. What now? Oh, I'm such a professional. Now I need to remove the heat shield. The shit was that? Now come on! Center shaft bearing. Oh yeah, that one is mint. Couple of things, you can see that the cats are in perfect condition. That one as well. Thankfully the center shaft bearing is in great condition. It has no cracks and you can push on the prop shaft and you can see that there's no play here. That we don't need to replace. This is our culprit, the flex disc. So now I'm going to start loosening bolts and then hopefully we have enough space to pull the prop shaft back and then just slide it out. Now we need to put the car in neutral. To put the car in neutral, you'll find a tool here, cup holder. Remove this cover. And there you can pop this tool in, turn it, push it down, and the car is now in neutral. Now we can turn the prop shaft. Let's see if we can slide the prop shaft out. Yes. Because you don't want this to hang, it'll stress the center shaft bearing in the back. All right. and it's out. Here's the old one. This is cheese at this point, very soft and falling apart. This is the new one, made in Germany by SGF, which is OE. It is very important that we install this correctly. You will find arrows on the side of the flex disc, and this arrow needs to point towards the flange on the prop shaft or the transmission. If you flip this around and install it incorrectly, it's not going to last. It's going to wear out pretty quickly. And the arrow is pointing towards the flange on the transmission. Here's the tricky bit, torquing this to spec. The torque is 55 Newton meters and then 90-degree angle. The thing is, you cannot torque by the bolt. You always have to torque by the nut. Otherwise, if you do it here, you're gonna get the incorrect torque spec. So I'm gonna go put it in drive and then get some extensions and stuff and see if we can torque this nut here. There's no way I can torque these bolts and nuts properly this way. The cross member is in the way. The chicken foot extension thing is not working. It's slipping, and I almost tripped this nut here, which would be really bad. So I'm going to support the transmission here, drop the cross member, and that way I can grab the nuts in the back easily with a spanner or something. So 55 Newton meters. We're gonna call that 45. And that will be 90. Mark it. Oh, torqued. Long bolt. This one is torqued to 68 Newton meters, but I can't fit a torque wrench in here, so I'm just gonna go by hand. No. So this exhaust system doesn't have gaskets here, just these clamps. So I'm gonna clean this up a little bit. It's Scotch-Brite, and then I'll apply exhaust paste. Come closer. Gonna apply exhaust paste. Oh yes. I gotta say, neat design for the exhaust system. I like it. Now we're going to focus on the front suspension and replacing worn out components. Front brakes are shot, rotors have a big lip, and the pads are running low. Lower control arms are bad on both sides, thrust arms are bad as well, the boot is torn and the bushings are shot. Sway bar links are bad. On the right side, the CV boot is split open and it's starting to fling grease everywhere, so we need to replace this boot as well. In order to replace the CV boot, we need to push out the shaft, so this nut needs to come out. If memory serves me right, this thing is torqued to 400 something Newton meters. Easy. Push back the pads. Never hang the caliper by the brake hose. Even though I'm going to replace it, I'm still going to hang it. think now we're gonna get the control arms out and then we'll start pushing this out. Eye protection and hearing protection engaged. Piece of apple pie. Washer. So I'm secretly hoping that I'm gonna find my 10mm socket. I actually lost a lot more than that. I think I'm missing like 3 or 4 extensions. Let go! Look at this. It shouldn't be like that. So this ball joint is shot. You can see that this bushing here is bad. You see that it's torn right over there and it's flexing way too much. Now I need to push out the shaft. There is a special tool to do this, which I don't have. All right, we're gonna try it slowly like this. And let's see what happens. I think my tool is about to break. You can see it bending. Yep. Let's see if the air hammer can do anything. Oh yeah, that's coming out. But hey, it's out. That's the thrust arm shot as well. The entire axle shaft needs to come out. There we are. That's out. Got a brass hammer here. Let's see if we can get this thing to pop out. Nice. There's the circlip. And when I test drove the car, it wasn't clicking or making any noise from the axle shaft, so this is a good original axle shaft. Now I need to clean all of this. So that's all nice and clean. This is the replacement boot by GKN, made in Czech Republic, and this is OE part as in original equipment. This is the company that makes this axle shaft for BMW, so good quality. It comes with new clamps, grease, and C-clips, but we're not going to use these because that will make reinstallation harder. That one over there has already taken correct shape. This one hasn't, so we're just going to leave that be. All right, that's all the ball bearings in. Now I'm going to take the grease, put it in the middle, squeeze until it starts coming out. That's pretty much all of it. Now I need to slide over the boot, and I'm going to use silicone spray to do that. I'm going to remove a bit from the middle, that way I can see when we start pushing in. So position the circlip where we can see it. Now I'm going to use a screwdriver to make sure the clip is in place, like that. It's in. You don't want to put too much grease either. Slide over the boot. I was just comparing the shaft on the left side, making sure that this boot is seated correctly, and this is how it's supposed to sit. Now we're going to install a brand new clamp. This is the big one, but it's weird. It's not the same type as this one. And I don't have a tool for this. In fact, I have no clue how we're gonna do this. It's a few days later. Never have I ever struggled this much with a clamp in my life. I tried every single plier in my arsenal, couldn't clamp it, ended up smacking my fingers, going home, had a beer or 5. Anyway, this is a low profile clamp, and it is specifically used on CV boots because you need the thinness. If you use the normalish type with the ear, it can't fit here. It's gonna hit the steering knuckle. You need it to be completely slim. So you have to use a clamp that's sort of this stupid design. Naturally, it uses special pliers, which I have here. I bought them on Amazon, 35 euro. KS tools, so medium quality. And I'm gonna show you now how you're supposed to clamp it. The pliers have special ends that allow you to put them in the clamp here and here. And I did open BMW TS. This is how you do it. And then squeeze the clamp, and supposedly you can get this end over the tab here, except you can't. You can see that I destroyed the clamp here and here because it's too soft. You need a lot of force to squeeze it, and you can't do it. I ruined 2 clamps trying to do this. I don't know how to do it from the factory, but we're gonna ditch this type of clamp and then go with this one. This is also slim design.
Yeah, I ended up not using this clamp either. It's not strong enough. More on this later.
There's a seal here that's in good condition, so I'm just gonna clean it. There it is. Brand new OE length water parts, thrust arm, lower control arm, sway bar links, new hardware, and while we are in there, we're gonna do the tie rods with new boots. All right, so now you're gonna reinstall the control arm so you have support. This is the lower control arm for the right side, and you can see how a brand new ball joint performs. All right, that's everything loosely in place. Naturally, there's yet another special tool to pull the shaft through the hub. I don't have that, so block of wood and a bit of hammering. Let's see what happens. We just need it to go through enough to where I can thread the bolt, and then from there it's easy. Barely, but it's going. Let me try something else. Bear with me, I have a plan. It's not all the way in, but it's in enough to where we can start the nut and then torque it to spec. TIS says that no oil is permitted on the threads of the shaft. Brand new nut, and this fella is torqued to 420 Newton meters, which is a lot. All right, now comes the ridiculous torque, but we're gonna do that later once the caliper is back on the car, or the caliper bracket and the disc, and that way I can lock the hub much stronger than I can do so now. Bushings as always, finger tight, and then we're gonna torque this to spec with the car on the ground, the suspension fully loaded. Otherwise, if you torque it right now, when this goes up, when you lower the car, it's gonna twist this bushing and they're gonna wear out really quickly. And now the tie rod. That's like semi-okay, not too bad. But I want whole suspension to be brand new. What is that? It's like the airplane is crashing. The clamp out. Is the steering rack leaking? No, it's not. It is perfectly dry. Me gusta. There it is. See, that's the new one. Anyway, now I need to copy the length of the old tie rod on the new one. Otherwise, the wheel alignment is going to be way off and the car won't be able to drive to the alignment shop. All right. Good and twist. That's it. Get the tool in there, make sure the clamp is lined up, and just clamp it in place. Now I can tighten this nut here. Now the sway bar link. Good morning, it's the following day. I'm gonna level with you. I don't feel comfortable with that clamp. I went to bed thinking about it. I woke up still thinking about it. I just have a gut feeling that that clamp is not going to hold when we do 260 kilometers per hour on the Autobahn. So I'm gonna remove this nut, push the axle a little bit out, and try something else. Okay, cool. There we are. I managed to fit the standard clamp in there. I just slightly tapped on it and made enough clearance to where it can turn now and catch on the wheel hub assembly. I feel much more comfortable with this because this is a much stronger clamp than what I was using previously. That's that. Brand new brake components. I went with Techstar because I have good experience with them and it's always supplier. So we have new pads, front rotors, which are massive, 365 millimeters. At the same time, we're gonna do brake lines all around, flush the brake fluid, and here we have brake paste from Liqui Moly. Now you're gonna clean up the hub. I'm gonna use wheel hub paste from Liqui Moly and just use it slightly on the lip here, not on the surface. This needs to be 100% clean and smooth, otherwise the disc is not gonna sit correctly, but just here on the lip where it likes to rust. Brand new screw. Now I'm gonna clean up the caliper bracket. Wait a minute, it's the same color. Is it the same thing? Brake paste. Probably the same thing. Oh, wrong disc. Oh, well, that's cool. These are wrong brake discs. Turns out there are two different types of brakes for the X5 4.8i. You have the single piston caliper and dual piston caliper. Take a guess for which caliper this rotor is. That's right, it's for the two piston type. Unfortunately, I bought this over a month ago and I can't return it. Also, the pads are different and I don't want to waste any of these parts. So instead, we're going to upgrade the brakes. I just ordered refurbished two piston calipers. So we'll complete this job once that comes in. For now, we're going to leave it as it is, move on the left side and replace control arms. It's copy paste on this side, minus messing with the CV shaft because the boot is in good condition. Therefore, we're not going to touch it. Off to the rear. Here we have sway bar bushings that are perished, as well as the sway bar links. Original bushings, they were not available as OE. And these are the wrong ones. Yep, these are the wrong ones. I quite honestly don't understand this car. There are two types of rear sway bars, 21 millimeter, which is the standard one, and 23, which is for the vehicles that have sport suspension. This car doesn't have that, and this sway bar yet measures 22.5. So naturally I ordered bushings for standard suspension, but they can't fit. There's just no way. I'm gonna have to order the sport bushings and see if that fits when it comes in. The rest of the rear suspension is in good condition apart the shocks, but we're gonna do that a bit later because I'm still waiting on parts. Rear brakes, the rotors are still in good condition. They don't have a lip, but the pads are really low, so we're gonna replace them. I'm gonna remove the bracket as well so I can clean it properly. Done. I always like to replace brake lines due to age on used cars. These are 13 years old, so it's time to refresh them. Crack spanner. That was fairly easy. Brand new line. Two more rubber brake lines here. Update on the brakes. I just went to see Marian from Autoteile Goldstein to pick up some parts for the X5. And turns out he has the 2-piston X5 calipers in stock. These are from 3-liter diesel X5 2-piston calipers that use 365mm discs. And as you can see, they're a bit crusty and I don't want to put them on the car like this. So I'm still going to use refurbished calipers that I bought. They're 100 euros each, so 200 euro there, plus 40 euro core deposit, so I can return this as a core. But I do need the brackets. Refurbished calipers don't come with that, so I'm going to remove this, vapor blast them, and then paint them. So when the refurbished calipers come in, I can just assemble all of this. He gave me a really good deal on this. I think 80 bucks for 2 calipers, which is amazing. Thank you so much. So the media that I have in my Aquablast 1215 cabinet from Vixen Surface Treatments isn't aggressive enough to remove rust, but let's see what it can do. It works. Come. See? Works wonderfully. All right, it did a really good job at removing rust, just took a bit longer. This is after blasting, it looks excellent. It removed all of the rust. I also put rust converter on it, and that's why you see some black spots here and there. But because this is steel, we need to paint it, so we're just gonna use some simple heat-resistant paint, and this will match freshly refurbished calipers. Now I'm gonna show you a trick that I saw online for masking surfaces that you don't wanna paint. Soft hammer. Nice and easy, huh? That's it. All right, I'm gonna heat up the paint and let's do this. Welcome to the paint booth. Nice. Now we're gonna let this air dry for 30 minutes to an hour, and then we need to bake it if you wanna get the paint really hard and in order for it to last. But I don't have an oven here, so we're gonna improvise. I am curious to see if this is going to last. I use something much better on Project Karlsruhe, E32 750IL. It's like epoxy and it's hard as a rock, and that's gonna last basically permanently. Where is that car? Oh, there it is. And yeah, the calipers look perfect on it, absolutely perfect. And it was sitting outside as well. So that's my go-to method. It's Foliatec, I don't remember. Packaging for painting the calipers. That's the best way to paint the calipers because that's gonna last a very long time. This is a simple paint, so I don't expect it to last too long, but certainly better than rusty calipers. Y'all ready for my ghetto oven? Get the sausages. You gently put this there and this one as well. State-of-the-art oven box. Jamie Oliver just wrote me. He's envious of my oven. Ideally, I want to use a wooden box or something that's not as easily flammable, but you know. When you do this, at least have fire extinguisher nearby. Need to create a chimney. All right. I found my thermometer. Gordon Ramsay, eat your heart out. 150 degrees in that box and climbing. I think it's time to stop before I burn the whole place down to the ground.
It's 170 right now. Crazy. Is it hot? Yes, it is. Muy caliente.
It looks fantastic. I'm not sure how long it's going to last though, so if it starts to turn to rust again, I'll give you an update. And now struts and shocks. I was waiting on parts, which is why we didn't do them earlier. But we are going with Bilstein, of course. I love Bilstein B6 shocks. I have them on my E30, E60, and I recently switched my E39 M5 to B6, and they ride splendid. They're the best shocks in the business. For this particular car, we're going with B6 in the front and B4 in the back, simply because B6 is not in stock. And that's gonna become available sometime in March, maybe. And I want to swap the rear shocks out as well now because I know they're going to be shot. So once I receive B6, I'm going to swap these out because it's not appropriate combo, but it'll work better than blown shocks. And of course, we also have all new hardware, OE and original. First, we're going to get rid of the caliper since we're replacing it. Just going to cut the line, plug that. I finished replacing the strut on the right side, and I actually found an issue here. Even though the strut itself is the same for both sides, they have the same part number, the strut assembly isn't. This is the right side assembly strut, but it was installed on the left side, vice versa. The left one was installed on the right side. The way I know that, in TAS repair manual, it's described how you're supposed to position the top mount and the spring using these two notches here. And on the left side, there is a notch in the rubber spring pad that should be positioned right over here. Instead, it's positioned over there and installed incorrectly for the left side. And on the other side, it was the other way around. So I think this was assembly line error. And it was like this from the factory because this is original strut from 2008. None of this appears to be ever off. And I'll show you exactly what I mean by positioning the spring perch correctly a bit later. To get to the strut mount nuts, we need to remove this cover here. This as well. First step, remove the right section of the fender liner. We're going to be replacing the upper control arm as well, and we need to access the nut that's behind it. Actually, the first step is to remove this wheel arch here, otherwise we can't get the fender liner out, and we're also going to paint this. This is held in with plastic tabs to the fender. Need to remove this as well. And this is a perfect opportunity to clean this drain. On the other side, this was clogged, but this one I already cleaned from the top. Remove this bolt here. Now I need to support the entire assembly. This one is bad, the rubber is cracked, and well, the ball joint is not good. climb Mount Everest now. I don't know what this is. If you're wondering why am I using this spring compressor and not the other one, that's because I broke the other one. I asked too much from it. I have a new one coming, but for now, I gotta use this one. Oh, the bump stop is completely gone on the left side. On the right side, it was also completely disintegrated. Small bit of it was left, and these were squashed all the way. I'm gonna get this bomb out of the way. So on the right side, the shock was actually still okay. It was bouncing back. Here as well. So I'm not gonna throw these away, I'm gonna keep them, but the car is gonna ride much better with B6, and also we get to refresh all of these worn out components, and the fact that bump stop is not here is concerning. Brand new spring pad. Here you can see how you're supposed to position the top mount and the spring for the left and right side. On the left side, this stud that's above this recess point in the top mount needs to point towards the front of the car, and this notch that's in the upper spring pad to be positioned opposite of it, and the spring end is going to sit right over here. On the right side, it's the other way around. This notch needs to be positioned underneath this stud, and this pointing towards the front of the car. When assembling, it's important to seat the spring correctly in the spring pads. Nice and tight. And that's the strut assembled with springs seated correctly. Now we're going to do the control arm. Before we remove this control arm, it's very important to mark its position since we have rubber bushings in the back, and we talked about this earlier. Every single bushing in the suspension needs to be torqued with the car at normal ride height, aka fully loaded suspension, and you can't access any of these bolts or nuts to do that once everything is reassembled. As it sits right now, this is set to normal ride height from the factory, so TS repair manual says to take a tape measure, measure from the top until the ball joint here, note down that measurement, and that way you can install the new control arm to the same spot. But rather easily, you can just take this line here on the control arm and mark it on the body here on both sides, plus this measurement, and that way we are 100% sure that the new control arm is going to be torqued and installed correctly. Clean the surface. And I'm also going to measure from the top. Just need to mark the spot there as well. To the top of the ball joint, we have 16.9 millimeters until here. It's actually the same on the other side. Over there, I got 16.8. Here, we have 18. If you want, you can take another reference point, whatever is comfortable for you. So for example, we can do it, again, mark where you're putting the measuring device, and we have 10 centimeters here. And the nut for this side is in the engine bay. Here's the new one. Another thing to note here, there are 3 different part numbers for this control arm, and it concerns the camber of the front end. Before you remove the old one, take a look here next to the ball joint. If there's a plus or minus, those are 2 different part numbers. And if there's nothing here, then the car uses the standard control arm, which is what we have here. And you need to replace this control arm before you put the strut back in, otherwise you can't get this bolt out with the strut in place. So get it just finger tight to where you can move it, position it correctly, and torque it at spec. All right, that's 16.9, 10 here, which is bang on the money. Marks that I marked earlier on both sides line up perfectly as well. 45. That's 90. I can bolt back the expansion tank, clean the surface, clean the knuckle as well. The stud here above this recess goes towards the front of the car, like we discussed earlier, but also it can only go in one way because these studs, they're not equally apart, they're different. There's different spacing between them and you can't put it in the car any other way. Now I need to sit this all the way in the knuckle. So this bolt here and this one here, of course, with the bushing, are torqued with the suspension fully loaded. And first you torque this one and then this one. Brand new bolt. Bit of cleaning. Clean fender liner. Now I'm going to clean up the rest of the wheel arch, engine bay cleaner from Liquid Moly. Alright, that's a bit better. Refurbished calipers by Brembo. I'm 280 euros all in, which is pretty good. Brand new brake pad wear sensor. Now the brake line. New hose. Clip. Brand new clip. Bit of plastic here. Now I'm going to torque the giant nut. This is torqued to 420 Newton meters. My torque wrench only goes up to 200, so we'll do that first and then I'll use the breaker bar to give it another good twist. No, it's already at 200. Rusty pipe. I think that's more than enough. Now I need to bend the tabs. Sway bar links. And that's the front suspension officially done. Everything is brand spanking new. The only thing left to do is to torque the bushings and the steering knuckle once the car is back on the ground. You can also jack up the entire assembly here and get it to somewhat ride height and then torque all of this, but I personally prefer to do it on the 4-post lift with the car on the ground fully loaded. That way it's much more precise, especially with brand new shocks and whatnot. We're gonna end this episode here. In the next one, we're gonna continue with the replacement of the rear shocks, bleed the brakes, button up everything else, and then the car is ready for German TÜV inspection. Once it passes, well, I can register it and use it, my girlfriend that is. After that, we'll do some odds and ends, make the car overall nicer, replace the rear taillights that are worn, refurbish the headlights, maybe clean it a little bit, and then the project is officially done. That's going to be the last episode. After that, we're back on proper machinery, well, working on proper machinery. We are starting with Project Marseille E31 850i. Anywho, have you noticed anything different with this particular video? The video quality, it's much, much better. I purchased a brand new professional camera, and this is the very first video filmed in 4K 60 FPS, not counting my US road trip that was filmed with shitty GoPro. GoPro is unreliable garbage. This is the real deal. I've been using my old camcorder Sony AX53 since I think Project Malaga Part 2. All of the videos were filmed in 1080p, and now it's time to raise the quality. And I'm loving it so far. I hope YouTube didn't ruin the quality, but in editing the difference is astonishing. So this entire episode was filmed with this new camera, which is This one, Panasonic HC-X20. Took me a while to figure out all the settings, focusing, getting the microphone to work properly and whatnot, but I think I'm getting there. Let me know how you like it. Anyway, as always, thank you so much for watching. I hope that you enjoyed this episode, and I'll see you very soon.